In contrast to contemporary Americans who discard 40% of their food supply, Amish households have conserved vegetables for generations, lacking electricity, refrigeration, or even canning jars. Their key lies in 5 extraordinary preservation techniques proven over time, methods so potent that correctly stored root crops come out of winter storage months afterward, tasting almost exactly as they did when pulled from the ground. These practices represent more than mere survival capabilities. They constitute lost knowledge that could potentially rescue your garden's yield should contemporary systems collapse. The Amish Preservation Calendar. Within Amish communities, conserving food transcends being a simple domestic task. It's an intricately coordinated interaction with the seasons, honed across many generations. Even as the wider world has adopted modern refrigeration and preservatives, Amish families persist in adhering to a customary preservation schedule attuned to the cycles of nature. This preservation timeline commences well ahead of the harvest. Starting as soon as January, families convene with time-honored almanacs to map out the growing season for the year. Such planning meetings involve more than selecting crops. Their purpose is to guarantee an uninterrupted provision of food during the subsequent year. A meticulously planned garden produces a consistent flow of vegetables, allowing for preservation in controllable amounts instead of inundating the home with excessive produce simultaneously. An old Amish adage states, "Plant according to the moon, preserve according to the need." This piece of wisdom illustrates the profound impact astronomical cycles have on their farming methods. Numerous Amish gardeners adhere to a lunar planting schedule, holding the belief that root crops develop better if sown during the waning moon, whereas plants growing above ground flourish when planted during the waxing moon. These very lunar rhythms subsequently inform the timing for preservation activities. Throughout the year, weather phenomena function as natural indicators on the calendar. The rains of spring herald the beginning of planting, whereas the initial frost serves as a cutoff point for gathering the final delicate crops. The Amish possess an extraordinary awareness of these environmental cues. A specific bird's call could signify the moment to pick the season's initial strawberries, just as the emergence of particular insects informs them when the cabbage is prime for preparing sauerkraut. The preservation schedule involves more than just harvest timing. It focuses on establishing a sustainable framework to support the community during sparse times. Every season introduces a distinct preservation emphasis. Spring, conserving early greens via drying. Summer, fermenting cucumbers to make pickles and conserving berries. Fall, preparing root vegetables for storage. Winter, planning while savoring the abundance from the prior season. Conventional indicators are vital for pinpointing the ideal moment for various preservation techniques. For example, numerous Amish families delay hanging herbs to dry until the humidity falls below 60%, guaranteeing they avoid mold growth. They may hold off harvesting onions for storage until after 3 straight dry days, aware that bulbs free of moisture last longer. These practices are not mere superstitions. They are functional rules established over centuries of careful observation. Efficiency and community in preservation. Efficiency is the hallmark of the Amish preservation schedule. Waste is virtually eliminated. Harvesting vegetables at their optimal point and processing them without delay significantly reduces spoilage. Consider corn, for instance. When sweet corn hits its peak in late summer, an Amish household could devote a full day to handling it. A portion of the ears is consumed fresh, some are dried for future soup ingredients, and the husks may be crafted into doormats or utilized as wrapping for other food items. The schedule incorporates diverse preservation techniques dictated by seasonal circumstances. During the moist summer months, rapid fermentation proves most effective, whereas the arid autumn atmosphere provides ideal circumstances for drying fruits and vegetables. The freezing temperatures of winter supply natural cooling for specific foods kept in unheated ancillary buildings. The genuinely extraordinary feature of the Amish preservation calendar is its communal dimension. Families avoid preserving food alone. Instead, they synchronize their activities. If one family experiences an abundant apple harvest, neighbors assist in picking and processing the fruit, aware that their own plentiful cabbage yield will garner comparable community support eventually. Although one might assume these methods are inflexibly opposed to modification, the Amish preservation schedule has in fact developed across generations. Families transmit wisdom while adjusting to their particular climate and accessible resources. The calendar is not unyielding. It adapts to the distinct circumstances of every year. Handling bumper crops. As fall draws to a close and the final pumpkins are gathered from the fields, Amish families shift their focus to what might be the most demanding preservation job, managing unforeseen bumper crops capable of inundating even the most meticulously organized preservation plan. How do they cope when nature proves exceptionally bountiful? Amish farmers are intimately familiar with this kind of blessing. A confluence of perfect weather can transform a humble garden patch into a veritable vegetable production center almost instantly. All at once, those 6 zucchini plants yield enough to sustain a large portion of the local area. This surplus is termed a bumper crop within Amish communities, and they have perfected the skill of managing it. In contrast to contemporary homes where surplus produce might rot in the refrigerator, Amish communities employ elaborate sharing networks. Foundational to these networks is the principle of first fruits, allocating the earliest harvest to individuals in need. Older members of the community frequently get the initial baskets of tomatoes or beans, guaranteeing that those unable to manage large gardens anymore can still savor fresh vegetables. When the yield surpasses even the most liberal sharing practices, preservation efforts intensify significantly. A family might rise before sunrise to start processing bushels of green beans that require immediate attention. Swift preservation methods, such as salt brining, can momentarily arrest spoilage until more comprehensive techniques are applied. A bushel of cucumbers could be immersed in brine just hours after picking, securing valuable time before they are transformed into pickles. Root cellars and work frolics. Root cellars accommodate surplus harvests of potatoes, carrots, and similar subterranean bounty. A standard Amish root cellar sustains temperatures ranging from 32 to 40 degrees Celsius throughout the winter without power, merely leveraging the Earth's inherent insulating properties. One root cellar alone can hold as much as 1,000 lbs of potatoes, sufficient to nourish a large family for a whole year. Vegetables are meticulously placed in wooden containers, separated by layers of sand or sawdust to avert contact and the propagation of decay. To manage genuinely massive harvests, Amish communities arrange work frolics, turning potential spoilage into sustenance for the winter. A corn husking frolic could bring together 20 to 30 neighbors capable of processing 100 bushels of corn in just one afternoon. These gatherings combine labor with social interaction, frequently turning into key moments in community life. Young individuals might discover romance amongst the corn husks, while contributing to food security for the upcoming months. Drying represents the quickest method for dealing with unanticipated abundance. Apple segments suspended on strings over wood stoves can be prepared for storage within a mere 24 hours. A family facing an abrupt surplus of apples might forego sleep to maintain the drying operation continuously, understanding that correctly dried fruit stays edible for as long as 5 years. The unassuming attic transforms into a potent preservation asset, its newspaper-lined drawers safeguarding dried vegetables from dampness and insects. Herbs, nature's preservation tools. In Amish cuisine, herbs contribute more than just taste. They serve as potent preservation agents that safeguarded food well before the advent of refrigerators. The connection between herbs and food conservation in Amish society is more profound than many contemporary individuals grasp. What makes herbs such efficient food preservers? The underlying science is remarkably simple. Numerous familiar herbs possess natural substances that combat bacteria, mold, and different agents of decay. Thyme includes thymol, a substance so proficient at inhibiting bacterial proliferation that it remains in use in certain present-day antiseptics. Rosemary contains rosmarinic acid, which retards oxidation, the mechanism causing food to become rancid. Sage provides salviin, known to diminish the action of enzymes responsible for food decomposition. The Amish herb garden functions as both a medicinal resource and a preservation storehouse. A representative garden may feature 15 to 20 distinct herbs, everyone having particular uses in preservation. The deliberate layout of these gardens is not arbitrary. Plants that repel pests from one another are situated adjacently, establishing a natural protective barrier that enhances herb strength without resorting to chemical treatments. Drying herbs forms the cornerstone of Amish preservation practices. Fresh herbs hold as much as 80% water, a setting conducive to bacterial growth. Lowering the moisture level to under 10% renders dried herbs unsuitable for microorganisms and simultaneously concentrates their advantageous oils. The Amish technique for drying herbs contrasts with contemporary practices. Rather than employing electric dehydrators, they bundle herbs and suspend them inverted in locations with good air circulation. This gradual drying spanning herbal preservation techniques. The array of herbal preservation methods goes well beyond merely drying plants. Infused vinegars establish acidic conditions hostile to most bacteria. A basic container of apple cider vinegar infused with tarragon can keep small vegetables conserved for months. While requiring only 30 minutes of hands-on effort, this method yields a preserving agent effective for up to 1 year. Infused oils fulfill a comparable role. Garlic oil might appear as merely a culinary component, yet it functions as an efficient preservative for some foods. Applied to bread, herbal salts constitute the moment of herbal wraps offer an additional preservation technique. Substantial leaves, such as those from cabbage or rhubarb, can be layered with herbs and employed to encase cheese or butter. This pairing of a physical shield and herbal substances maintains the food's freshness for a longer duration than using either approach independently. Cheese enveloped in herb-infused cabbage leaves can stay fresh for several weeks when kept in cool conditions. Wild grape leaf wrapping. Have you ever noticed wild grapevines sprawling on fences or ascending trees and pondered their utility? To Amish communities, these plentiful leaves signify one of nature's ideal wrapping resources. Wrapping food in grape leaves is an age-old conservation method still flourishing in contemporary Amish kitchens. The modest grape leaf possesses an extraordinary blend of characteristics rendering it perfect for preserving food. Every leaf holds natural tannins and phenolic substances that actively combat bacteria. These substances are potent enough that correctly wrapped cheese can endure 3 times as long. Furthermore, one robust grapevine is capable of yielding 500 to 800 suitable leaves per season, sufficient for wrapping numerous food items. The wrapping method itself necessitates practice for mastery. Different food categories require distinct folding arrangements. For softer cheeses, leaves are usually positioned in a star formation using 5 to 7 overlapping leaves to establish a moisture shield. For compact vegetables such as new potatoes, a basic single-leaf covering is adequate, though the stem needs prior removal due to compounds that might introduce bitterness. For meats, several layers may be applied, forming a barrier that retards decay and imparts a delicate taste. Temperature is critically important in grape leaf conservation. Kept at temperatures between 50 and 60 degrees, cheese wrapped in grape leaves acquires intricate flavors unattainable with contemporary plastic wrap. The inherent transfer of advantageous bacteria between the leaf and the cheese results in distinctive local tastes, mirroring the soil composition where the grapes originated. Foods conserved using this method are not merely kept, they undergo a transformation. Alcohol as a preservation tool. Despite widespread assumptions, numerous Amish communities produce and utilize alcoholic drinks, not chiefly for consumption, but as potent agents for food conservation. This custom contradicts the frequent misunderstanding that the Amish shun every type of alcohol. The reality hinges on differentiating between intent and overindulgence. An old proverb suggests, "The fruit tells us what it wants to become." Within particular Amish settlements, this destiny sometimes manifests as brandy, wine, or hard cider, all precious preservatives in an environment lacking refrigeration. The alcohol crafted in Amish kitchens and cellars fulfills functional roles extending well past leisure. As fruits ferment, they generate ethanol, a substance that eliminates bacteria by breaking down their cell walls. Any liquid with an alcohol content exceeding 14% develops near immunity to bacterial decay. This inherent antibiotic characteristic positioned alcohol among mankind's initial and most dependable conservation techniques, predating contemporary canning methods by millennia. Fruit brandy represents the foundation of Amish alcohol-based preservation. Fruits like peaches, cherries, pears, and berries, which cannot be eaten fresh or conserved quickly enough, are converted into powerful preservative fluids. A container of cherries steeped in house-made cherry brandy can stay edible for as long as 3 years, a duration significantly exceeding what other preservation techniques offer for such fragile fruits. The preparation procedure adheres to stringent guidelines. Fermentation containers demand meticulous cleanliness, since undesirable bacteria can compromise both the preservative efficacy and the safety of the end product. Naturally present wild yeasts on fruit surfaces frequently initiate fermentation, although certain families cultivate proprietary yeast strains inherited over generations. These traditional yeasts yield characteristic flavors specific to each family's conserved fruits. In Amish communities, apple cider fulfills 2 distinct preservation roles. Newly pressed cider remains viable for just a short period, but through natural fermentation, it initially evolves into hard cider containing 4 to 6% alcohol, thereby prolonging its usability to several months. Additional aging combined with correct methods can further transform this cider into apple brandy, reaching up to 40% alcohol content, potent enough to conserve fruits and therapeutic herbs for years. Therapeutic uses underscore another significant facet of alcohol preservation. Medicinal herbs, which might forfeit potency if dried, can retain their healing qualities for years when steeped in alcohol. Such tinctures draw out and conserve the active substances from plants such as echinacea, valerian, or elderberry. A standard medicinal tincture typically has an alcohol content between 25 and 35%, sufficient to extract plant components effectively while inhibiting decay. Storage methods for foods preserved in alcohol demonstrate profound practical understanding. Glass jars equipped with securely fitting lids avert evaporation, which could diminish the alcohol percentage gradually. These containers are usually stored in cool, dim locations maintaining temperatures under 65 degrees to decelerate any residual chemical processes. In optimal circumstances, certain fruits conserved in alcohol can stay safe and palatable for as long as 5 years. The conservation technique fluctuates depending on the season and the type of fruit. Summer berries, having high water content, necessitate more potent alcohol solutions, generally around 30% alcohol. In contrast, denser autumn fruits, such as apples, can be conserved using lower alcohol levels, between 15 and 20%. This seasonal modulation optimizes preservation efficacy and simultaneously curtails alcohol consumption. Alcohol levels require precise management. Insufficient amounts fail to preserve adequately, whereas excessive amounts can overpower the fruit's inherent taste. The majority of Amish individuals involved in preserving strive for a balance, precisely enough alcohol to inhibit spoilage, yet retain the unique essence of the conserved food. This equilibrium results in preserved fruits fulfilling both functional and gastronomic roles. This tradition adjusts to regional circumstances. Communities situated in areas rich with wild berries formulate specialized methods for conserving these delicate fruits using alcohol. Those residing in apple cultivating zones refine preservation techniques centered on cider. Such regional focus leads to unique preserved foods that mirror the natural assets of each community. Within Amish communities, the separation between alcohol used for preservation and alcohol as a drink stays unambiguous. Foods conserved with alcohol are regarded as precious assets, not as items for leisure or indulgence. This viewpoint stands in stark contrast to contemporary views, which typically categorize alcoholic drinks and food preservation as completely distinct domains. Conclusion. I mentioned to my buddy that I was exploring Amish alcohol preservation methods. His response was, "Sounds like they've certainly figured out how to keep their spirits high during the winter." These proven Amish conservation practices are more than ingenious alternatives to contemporary refrigeration. They represent vital links to our collective heritage, instructing us that genuine sustainability is found not through technological progress, but by collaborating harmoniously with the flawless rhythms and offerings of nature itself.